This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey everybody, this is the Cliff Yates Show. You're in the right place. All things personal growth, self-improvement, motivation, inspiration. How can we be better? How can we become more? Not get more, but become more. More important to become more than to try to get. You will get as a side effect of becoming more. You won't have to work at it. And that's why we're here today. You're in the right place. Yeah, Gary Vee let me sit in on a content creation strategy meeting with people around the table. And I say he let me sit in because he actually filmed it. Now, who is Gary Vaynerchuk, you might ask? I know a lot of people that probably are in my circle don't know who he is. And probably most people that are under 40 know who he is. VaynerMedia, the Vayner experience, V experience, Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vee, Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, I came across Gary about 20 years ago and I read his first book, Crush It. And I've read it about 5-6 times. And he since has sold, I believe, 5 New York Times best-selling books. He's just, some people would call him a genius at marketing, social media, creating content, and he's created his own brand around that. He's got offices in Toronto. He's got offices in Manhattan. He's advised people like A-Rod in business, and I'm going to put all the links to Gary's YouTube channels in the description, the YouTube description, also on my podcast platforms in the show notes. Check it out. I'm directing you to him. Do I get anything? No, except for the gratification of pointing you to somebody who can help you in marketing and in business, no matter what that business is. It goes across the board. If you're trying to have more people become aware of your brand, your product, he is the king of it for, depending on what you want to spend. He'll get you into zero. You can start with zero. I mean, that's his thing. Social media marketing, the entry point is zero. There's never been a better time to be advertising now. And so when I say I sat in on a content creation strategy meeting, which he had with a table of people from around the world who came to attend this meeting, if I or you or most people that I know, if they asked and called to try to sit in on a meeting with Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary Vee, we couldn't make it happen. We wouldn't be allowed, and rightfully so. I mean, we haven't been vetted. They wouldn't know to let somebody in cold. You're taking a chance, someone you don't know. But what he did is he filmed the meeting. He filmed it, and it's filmed as if it's from the seat that I or you are in. So it's as if we attended the meeting. There can't be any greater value than that. What does it cost to watch that and learn from it? Zero. But like many business strategists have said, written about, there are people who have written books. I made $1 million. This is how I did it. And I wrote it all down in this book. How many people read the book? Not too many. Why? We don't really know. It's a mystery. So no matter what we're doing as high achievers, we have to remember that we're in the 3%, 5%. 95% of the people won't take advantage of what's available to them to advance their life, their career. Maybe 97%. It's about 3 to 5%. So that's who I'm talking to today. And I came across this video, which I'm going to put the link in the description. As I told you, I had to go back and take notes as if I was in the meeting. And I got the benefit that everybody else did. Because everything he said, and he says it in the meeting when he's talking to someone specifically, as he goes around the room and says, what's your business? What are you doing? What's your challenge? What's the problem? And he even says, when I'm talking to you about your problem and what you need to do or you could do or you should do, it's for the benefit of everybody at the table because it's going to relate to them in some way. It's going to relate to their business in some way. So I'm sharing that with you today. And if only one other person hears it, then 2 people that I really care about have heard it, me and you, the other person. Because you know what? If nobody hears this, guess what? I saw it. I wrote it down. I took 5 pages of notes. I went over those notes. Now I have filmed it, and now I'm saying it again. And who's hearing it? Me, in my head. So I took notes on the meeting. And Gary, he does a thing. Gary does a thing where he goes to garage sales on weekends and he films it. I mean, the basic secret to his strategy is that he lives his life and he films it. And that's all. And he takes that content and then he puts it on the platforms that are working for that time. As he says, the platforms may change. The content is not going to change. It's the content that's important, not the platform that you're distributing it with. And he's a master of, he has said yes to so many people asking him to come speak where he has done it for little or no money. He just asks, can I film it? Can I film it and use the content? And then he takes that content of what he said and he uses it for long form. He uses it for short form. He has it transcribed for written, and he gets multiple value out of a single talk. And that's the secret, is to use your content and get double the impact, triple the impact, triple the return. And so in this meeting, he was talking about, I started to tell you about the garage sales that he goes to on the weekends. Because he says, if you say you can't make money, he films himself going to these garage sales, and he'll do like 10, 20 garage sales in a weekend or in one day. And he films himself, buying these boxes of, they might have matchbox cars or whatever, coffee cups, and he films himself, hey, you want how much for this matchbook? How much for the box? I'll give you 25 for the box. And yeah, give me 25. He takes the box right back to his car and he scans them, or he looks it up on Amazon, and he'll take one car. This car is selling on Amazon right now for $45. He just paid $25 for a whole box of these matchbook cars. And at the end of the day, he adds up what he has made, at least in value, that he could sell on Amazon. I mean, Amazon has an app. You can just look up products while you're there. If they have barcodes, you can scan the barcode. It'll show you, this is how much it's selling for. This is how many are available. The tools that are available for free to make a living, to make money is just, it's all there for us if we'll do it. That's the problem. 3 to 5% of us will. And I'm one of them. I hope you are too. And Gary was saying when he does those garage sale things, he said those people and or kids that are watching his garage sale content, entry-level business people, he says those are the kids and the people whose parents are CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies that hire VaynerMedia as their marketing firm. And so all content is good. I took that in the notes. All content is good. And so even his garage sale content, which seems like, he's making this, he's doing garage sales and making $500-600 a day. Well, those parents of those kids that are learning about that, they hire Gary for their Fortune 500 companies to be their media marketing company. So all content is good. And humans are, and someone was asking Gary, he says, what about humans are multiple things. We like multiple things. We get into multiple things. He says, don't niche down. Now, niche down. Is it niche? I think it's niche. Don't niche down. Now, he said in the meeting, people who ask you to niche down are probably selling niche programs to you, and they really haven't created anything themselves. So he says, don't. As humans, we are more than just one thing. And so he says, do not niche down. Do other things. I liked it because I've done that. I have done that. And sometimes I wonder, maybe I should have niched down and just focused on this one thing and not been that. I mean, isn't it crazy? I was talking to a friend on an adjoining island here, and we were just saying, hey, nice to meet you. What do you do? We're not just one thing. Sometimes it's hard to answer, but we do need a pitch to say, hey, we're this and we're that. And it's probably multifaceted. That's the best way to shine, baby, right? Think of a diamond. You can be a mirror, This is me, not Gary Vaynerchuk. You can be a mirror, reflect back, light. That's good. Bringing light to the world, other people. Or you can have this, that, multiple cuts. Think of a diamond. There's a cut here, there's a cut there, there's a cut there, there's a cut there. What does that do? When light comes in, it's reflected in a million different ways. There's a luster. There can be a luster to your life because of that you're multifaceted. You're going to reflect light to the world in a million different ways. So let's not niche down, as Gary said. I like that advice. Let me go to my notes here that I took for our meeting, our strategy meeting for creative content. Yeah, because I'm glad about the other things that I got involved in. And I'm glad I didn't go all in. You know, I had a dream, right, I wanted to get my PBA card, my Professional Bowlers Association PBA card, my Pro Bowlers card, so that I could compete as a pro bowler in tournaments. And so I used the formula. What do I want? Get my PBA card to compete in a pro bowlers tournament. What do I do? Find out, what do I have to do to get that? Oh, I have to average over 200 in a league for 2 years that has a minimum of like 66 games. And then you can apply for your PBA card at a few $100s. So what did I do? I did that. I practiced, got in the league, one season, 207. The next season, I averaged 212. Applied, got my PBA card, my Professional Bowlers Tour card, and I competed in the U.S. Open in Fountain Valley, California. You can look it up online. It was back in 2009 or 10, and I had a great time. It didn't do very well on those pro conditions, but I met a lot of pro bowlers that I had watched from afar on television, watching the PBA Tour on TV. Got to meet these guys up close and personal. And what a joy, what a pleasure, great stories that I have. But I also got into learn, the ins and outs of the PBA Tour, what people actually make. And at the time, I think my salary would have been considered in the top 10 of the PBA pro bowlers. Just not a lot of them making over six figures. Maybe 10, 15, if that much at the time. I think there was only 10 or 15 making over six figures out of the whole PBA Tour. So I got to learn, about touring and the seasons and the amount of money and what you have to do to make and the competitiveness. And I decided, that's not something I want to do for a living. Now, did I learn things that I carried forth in the rest of my life as one of my facets? Yeah, of course I did. And so did I regret learning how to become a pro bowler and qualify and join the PBA? No. But I decided that's not where my focus of my life. I was not going to quit or retire and then be full-time on the PBA Tour. But I was glad I did it, just like stand-up comedy. I'm glad I focused on stand-up comedy. Did it help me in my police career? Absolutely. And so, one thing affects everything else. So let's not niche down. That was the Gary Vee lesson, and I'm glad in most cases I have lived to that. Someone was asking Gary, should I do this or? And Gary was and. No, Gary said and, not or. Too much in business, or. A lot of businesses, or. They're in the or mentality. No, we're in the and. He says and. Do that and. You know what? Do 3 podcasts. Start 2 more podcasts. And. Business and your life is and. Do more. Now, he qualified that with if you have the energy. If you have the energy to do that, then do more. He tried to expand. There's a prayer. I think it's the Baez prayer. I can't remember specifically. Someone can correct me in the notes, but it's, Lord, please expand me to give me more to handle. Give me the tools to handle more. All right. So then when he brought in, he was like, because he said, we might sometimes get into the mentality of thinking this is an energy sucker instead of an energy compounder or an energizer, right? So he was saying so on the weekend, Sunday, you're watching your favorite sports team, 4 hours. You could look at that as I wasted 4 hours, getting involved in watching this sports team. Or you can look at it as those 4 hours fired me up to get through the next 60 hours of the week. They fired me up to be energetic, more energy into the next 60 hours. Those 4 hours were not an energy sucker. They were an energy builder. That's another way to look at it. So use your passions to energize yourself. So, he goes in the reason why you want to get into, do more things, be involved in more things, right? He's just a media giant. He's a marketing giant. People know him through VaynerMedia, through the Gary Vee experience, but he says, hey, some people know me. You want to do more things because it gives more people a chance to connect and attach to you. Like he said, a lot of people know him just because of his association with the New York Jets. His history was that he grew up as a pretty athletic kid, and until there was a time where the growth spurt comes, and everybody got it and he didn't. And so all of a sudden his athletic abilities were not matching everybody else around him, and he realized, I'm not going to play for the New York Jets. So he switched his goal to owning the New York Jets, which I believe that someday he is going to own the New York Jets. And so he says, the reason we want to be involved in more different things, it's great to be different things, multifaceted, it gives more people, different people, a reason or a way to be aware of our brand, be aware of us personally, to attach to us. Like he said, a lot of people are attached to him just because of his association with the New York Jets. And then some people are attached to him through his business talks. And just another reason, it's not or, it's and. Let's be anders. And I'm in the same boat, not financially, but as Gary Vee says, I have more people attached to me because of different things. So obviously my fellow police officers, people who support police officers and or their families and those associated with those people, those are my attachments or my connections through the police, law enforcement. People have read my book, Deputy. See, and then I have people I'm attached to, groups that I'm connected with through stand-up comedy. They have no connection to the police field, or even, they're maybe vaguely aware that I was really a cop, or they have no connection, or there's no commonality in the police. No, it's in stand-up comedy. I have a whole section of people I'm connected with in stand-up comedy. So I have a different group connected to me through police, a different group, people connected to me through stand-up comedy, fellow writers, and now, of course, podcasting. I'm going to have a whole new group of people that I'm going to be associated with through podcasting for sure, and maybe you're one of them. Leave a note in the comments, please, because I'm not so much geared towards being interesting, but interested. I'm interested in you, so share with me something. And he goes, he continues to go on, if you have the capacity, if you have the energy, I have the energy, I have the capacity. So I am going to be an ander, not an orer. It's and. I'm going to add. I'm doing a podcast. I'm probably going to add a second, maybe a third. I'm going to do it. What I write down here, people see things on a surface level as an energy sucker when it can be an energy driver. So that was, and when I go back, that was the example he gave about the sports on the weekend, the 4 hours you spent watching the PGA Tour. Oh, that's an energy sucker? Well, it could be an energy driver. That could fire you up for the next 60 hours of the next week. Let's get below surface level. Let's go a little deeper onto what our passions are. And Gary went on to say, in other words, he said, okay, your passion is Star Trek. Do a podcast on Star Trek. That's your passion, what you love to study and learn about. So do a podcast on Star Trek. Now, you may, subconsciously think you're doing it really to lead to more business or to bring people to your business, but the reality is you love Star Trek. And the research and the energy that you give to create that hour of that Star Trek podcast, that's going to be energy for the whole next week. What you get out of putting into that hour of that passion you have for Star Trek, it's going to energize you. It's not going to be energy sucker. It's going to be an energy driver. So true. Content creation is king. That's what I took that note. Content creation is king. Because the entry level is so low right now. It's so low. All the eyes are on social media, on all these platforms, and the entry level to be on those platforms is zero. Think about 25 years ago when you wanted to reach people for your business. See, most people wouldn't have $50,000 for a half hour or for a commercial on a major network. You wouldn't have a $500,000 for a commercial during the Super Bowl. You wouldn't have money for billboards. You wouldn't have to promote your business. Well, eyes are now on social media on these different platforms. Entry level, cost, zero. So why wouldn't you be king of creating content on those platforms? How easy is it? Too easy. Entry level, zero. All right, fire it up. I'm getting fired up again just talking about this. It's going to drag me through. No, it's not. It's going to energize me all through next week. I'm going to be walking 2 feet off the ground. Okay, content creation is king. But let's qualify this. It just can't be haphazard, right? But it has to be, I'm going by my notes that I took on the meeting, but it has to be strategic. It's about creating more content about the thing you want to monetize. It's in the end, it's getting return on your investment, even if that's just time creating. So, I mean, he keeps pushing YouTube Shorts, and YouTube Shorts is so, I'm going to chop this long form content up into YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts have to be a minute and less. So YouTube Shorts is it's new, it's popular. You're going to get, right now you're getting 100 times more views on YouTube Shorts than you are in your long form. But it can lead to subscribers and people who follow your long form. But I'm doing YouTube Shorts now, and everybody should be doing it. And you need to title for search. That was important, I think, what he said. Title for search. Title your YouTube videos for search, because YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. So you want to title your videos for search, what people are searching for. And there's so many free software out there, that will tell you what is the most searched for term. And it's so easy, really. Entry level, zero cost. So title YouTube videos for search, or Instagram search for search. Either way, research your titles. He went on, I know he said that the Beast is somewhere. The Beast is a guy on YouTube who makes millions and millions, but he spends over $100,000 just on research and creation of his YouTube thumbnails. Can you imagine that? $100,000 per YouTube thumbnail. Unbelievable. Let's see. Gary was talking. He was asking a question about two types of content. And he said both. It's almost back to the and, not or. Should I do this or that? Both. Do both, he says. Everything is and. We have a subconscious bias, he said, for or in business. But let's make it and. I mean, if we want to go to the next level. Now I'm quoting, he said we have a bias towards over-believing academia and under-believing reality. And he was talking to a guy who was posting 12 times a week, and he was really saying you should be posting 12 times a day And he says, and don't worry about it. Because nobody's reading all 12 anyways. So don't think you're oversaturating, with your content. You can't do it. Not everybody's going to see it and or read it. Now, Gary is the king of not caring about people who attack him, because he does. He has haters. He doesn't care about that or look at that, although he does, if he does see it and or hear about it, he feels for the other person, because he knows, at least his mindset is, it's not about me, it's about them. It doesn't affect me. His negative content, his only worry is that a third party will hear a negative comment or hatred and think that his content is not worthy of consuming. So he's not affected by it. I'm learning better and better to not be affected by it, to not be so oversensitive, and to let anything like a negative comment affect me in any way and or spend any time with it. And it's about the other person. It's about their problem. There was another quote that I came by last week. It was about if somebody has a problem with your position, that's their problem. If it's your disposition, that's your problem. And so, yeah, that was a really good thing. And he went on as far as, people that are attacking or critical of you. And this is what he said in the meeting. People that will eliminate you because you're talking about multiple things are the least interesting people on earth. People that would eliminate you because you're in a few different directions or you're interested in several different things, people that would eliminate you because of that are they're the most least interesting people on earth. And all you're trying to do is to get more people to consider you. That's the whole idea of getting your content out there so that people will have a chance to connect with you, to be exposed to you and or your brand. That's all you're trying to do, is to get more people to consider you. And the way to get more people to consider you is to touch on more things. If you can touch on more things in different categories or ideas, you're going to be in contact with more people that can consider you. Makes sense. And so important. I really resonated with this message, with all the messages in this meeting. And I hope it does with you too. Believe me, if you leave me, you leave my content to go over to Gary Vee's because I suggested it. If you leave me right now or before, and you go click on his links, I'm glad you did, because he says it better, of course, than I can say it. But I'm saying it through my filter of how I heard it and how I've applied it and how I'm going to apply it in the future. And maybe it'll have some value to you. And if any of this does, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please leave some comments. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, please subscribe. It helps. Tells the computer that people are interacting with the show, and they show it to more people who are interested in those things in the way that I have marketed, or in the keywords that tell people this is what this show is about. So again, you're just trying to get more people to consider you. And the way to get more people to consider you is to touch on more things. Now, he was talking to the group, but that really resonated with me. And I say it to myself. Gary said, create content in other words, you can create contact. Here's a way to create, and he was trying to say you can create contact in multiple ways like this. Create contact in how fly fishing taught me about business. Right? Because maybe your passion is fly fishing. How does that relate? And I can do the same thing with police work. Easy, law enforcement and business. So, we took so many business classes. We took a lot of business classes in the LA Sheriff's Department. A lot of business, a lot of leadership classes. And so leadership and police work can really translate to business. Police tactics for business. Police tactics for business. Definitely it translates. In other words, there was a learning, I'm just thinking of something that comes to my mind right now, right? They studied why, and I think I've talked about this before, why people decided to shoot a police officer on a traffic stop. What were were there any causal factors? And a couple of them were, that the officer was sloppily dressed. He was unfamiliar with his equipment. He had a lack of confidence. He looked disheveled. He looked sloppy. Gave the person the idea, I can take this guy, I could take him, I can shoot him. It's the same in business, right? The way we dress, people are going to look at us, that guy's sloppy, he's disheveled. Do I want to do business with this guy? He's not even taking care of himself. He's not confident in what he's doing. Does he know his product? See how I can relate and translate. So you can conflate your, the ideology of what you're passionate about into your business. And the whole idea is, man, you need, when you're trying to get people to be aware of your brand, to be aware of you and or your products, or to connect with you, you need to connect. You need to connect with people. And if you're into more things, there are more ways for you to connect with people. Now, I like what he said. He said, because he was asking a guy in the meeting, he goes, what is your favorite communication style? Is it audio, visual, or the written word? And he said some great things here. So he says, oh, you like video. Well, create video because that's what you're passionate about. That's your favorite way of communication. And then pay somebody to transcribe your video to put into the written word, right? Get double for your buck. So I took notes, right? If you're into video, okay, do video, then transcribe video for the written word. Think about double benefit. And I was interesting, right? Gary Vee has written 5 New York Times best-selling books, and he said, I never wrote a sentence for any of them. All of it was the words out of his mouth on a video transcribed for a book. 5 New York Times best-selling books, and he never wrote a sentence. They were the words that came out of his mouth that were on a video that he had transcribed. And so it's the content. Content is the key, not the distribution method. And I've talked about this before. Hey, my wife specifically, she understands intellectually how important reading and books are. She hates to read, does not want to read, does not read, so she now listens to audiobooks. She's probably, in an audio fashion, she's probably read so many books in the last 2 years. Unbelievable. Some over and over again. She listens while she's walking, while her mind is going. Because she knows sometimes her mind will drift and thoughts will come in and she'll go with those thoughts even though the audiobook is playing. So she'll play the audiobook over again. She'll listen to the Bible again. She'll listen to that book on Airbnb again and again. And it gets through to her. And so it's not, so she's getting the content. She's reading books through audio. So it's content that is the king, not the distribution method. That's why it's not important. I mean, YouTube is the greatest search engine with video today. But I mean, if that went away today, there would be another platform. So our content that we create is the most important thing. Platforms are very simple. Platforms, I'm going to go through my notes. Platforms are very simple. They just want people to stay on as long as possible so they can run ads. That's their whole idea. You ever watch those medical things where they just said, hey, I'm going to tell you how you can improve your blood pressure so that you're going to live another 100 years. And I have found the secret. You're going to love this secret. And you know what? They never get to it. 27 minutes later, and they still haven't given you the secret, even though they said they were going to give it to you. Why? Because they're using this, and not in a legitimate way, wasting our time stretching that out. With the whole idea that their whole, obviously their premier goal was not to give us the information, but it was to do what these platforms really want to do, which is to keep people on them as long as possible so they can run ads. That's why when you try to click a link on something, your Facebook is big for not letting you put links, or they hide them, or they're not really if you have a link in your post, they don't show it to so many people, because if you click the link, you're going off their platform, and people pay big money for Facebook ads, and they want to keep you on that platform as long as possible. Let's see, but the last time Mr. Beast is the guy, the YouTube guy who spends $100,000 on his titles. He researches for his titles. And so happy. Isn't it amazing, though, that I got to sit in on a creative content meeting with Gary Vee, holding this meeting with all these business people from around the world. And there was about 12 of them, I think. And check it out. Click the link in the description. Check out that video. But here we are, able, if we'll do it, to sit in on this meeting and learn what Gary was teaching these people about creative content in expanding their business. But again, when we're talking about expanding business, being a better communicator, learning to become more, how can we be a better person? And sometimes we do it in a business sense. It translates to our personal life. So one thing affects everything else. If it's a positive thing impacting you in a positive way, creatively expanding your influence to others, it relates across the board, business and personal. When I was in the LA Sheriff's Department, they taught us first aid, CPR, how to save a life while we're on duty. Guess what? I take those skills home with me, the ability to save family or friends in a medical emergency. And so one thing affects everything else. So I couldn't wait to share the meeting that I sat in with Gary Vee. And so it's just, we can do this right now. You can go online and go to YouTube. The amount of free content that people are willing to share with valuable, life-changing information is limitless. But the deal is, there's not that many who are going to take advantage of that. I am, you are, that's why you're here. You know I appreciate you and I love you. Please subscribe to this channel. YouTube, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when the next video comes out. You know I do these podcasts weekly. Probably going to step this up to a little more frequent. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, subscribe. Whether it's Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, I'm on all those. The Cliff Yates Show, easy to find me. I'm here. Join me, because together we can do some great things. Thanks, everybody.